Scoot on down to your Allis Chalmers dealer. He's the man who can sell you a tractor and give you a trip on a very exciting plan. He'll take you on a plane to Milwaukee in the Allis Chalmers plant, where you see him making not only tractors, power equipment too, like generators and turbines and nuclear power stuff.
In 1962, Allis Chalmers offered you a chance to buy a tractor and take a trip and take a tour of their West Allis facility. Well, now here we are 60 years later, and we're going to give you another tour of the facility. But this time, you don't even have to buy a tractor. So come along and enjoy.
Buy a tractor and take a trip. Buy a tractor and take a trip.
The Allis Chalmers Land of Power Tour ran from December 2nd through December 15th, 1962. Anyone who bought an Allis Chalmers tractor in the fall of 1962 was invited on an all-expense-paid 3-day trip. On the first day of the trip, a brass band greeted guests at the airport and were then taken on a tour of the massive West Allis plant. After the tour, the day ended with a huge dinner in one of the buildings on the grounds. A pageant was given about the company's history and about its half-century in the farm equipment business. Day 2 started with a bus trip to Harvey, Illinois for a tour of the Allis Chalmers engine plant, and ended the day with a banquet and a floor show at the Sherman House Hotel in Chicago. Day 3 was spent shopping and sightseeing in Chicago before everyone was bused to the O'Hare Airport to be flown home. Almost 7,500 people on 40 chartered airplanes bought a tractor and took the trip. There it is, the Allis Chalmers West Allis Works. 15,000 employees and over 4,100,000 square feet of floor space within its 160 acres. Headquarters of the company from 1902 till their bankruptcy in 1987. Let's switch to a map so you can more easily get a layout of this massive facility. This map will be our guide for the tour ahead. Our first stop on our tour is the former Allis Chalmers Employment Office. It's recently remodeled and is now the Reunion Restaurant. The upstairs houses a massive arcade. The walls are decorated with pictures showcasing its Allis Chalmers past. The food is good and we ate there many times on our trip. We recommend you stop by as well. From the old employment office, we head west to our next stop, the site of the Allis Chalmers Water Tower. Approximately right here is where the Allis Chalmers Water Tower was. This was also the site of the Allis Chalmers Brass Foundry. These were some of the first parts of the plant demolished. Going north on our map is the Allis Chalmers Foundry. This 287,000 square foot building would melt over 80,000 tons of metal a year. To put that amount into perspective, that equals the weight of about 35,500 Allis Chalmers WD-45 tractors. The foundry closed on April 20th, 1982. Sadly, this building is also gone. The parking lot for the West Allis Center occupies most of the site. Going west from the foundry was the massive Allis Chalmers main office building, home of offices, pattern shops, and engineering. This is another lost part of the factory, with the last portions of it being demolished in 2020. There was still piles of rubble there during our visit. There is a reminder of what was once made here, though, on the corner of West Greenfield Avenue and South 70th Street. Across the street from where the main office building was, there are some surviving parts of the Allis Chalmers complex. Well, the tractor plant and all that's gone, but there's a few remnants of the tractor division. Right here, this is the original 1928 tractor offices. But then, after they bought Rumley, they suddenly, had a need for more office space. So then this part of the building was built in 1931. For the tractor division. Then in the 1950s they needed more space, so then this office building was built. Right there, 4th floor, 4th section, that's where the Skyway was. That ran all the way across to the part that they just tore down. This parking lot next to the tractor offices was the site of the Allis Chalmers Clubhouse, site of numerous company functions and community events, demolished in 1997. Now we head to the tractor production area of the complex. We're going to switch maps for a moment to a more detailed one of this area. There were many different buildings used for tractor production, all sadly lost to history. Luckily for us though, we've tracked down photos of just about every building in this area. Tractor heat treat, built in 1919, used to heat treat metal. Tractor storage, built in 1940. Tractor warehouse, built in 1963. Tractor Shop 1, built in 1919, the first dedicated space for tractor production. But since Allis Chalmers started making tractors in 1914, where were they built before this? More on that later. Here's a view of the inside from the 1950s, showing a spare parts pack line. The top floor storage area in 1975. What treasures do you think were hidden in there? Tractor Shop 2, built in 1929, which nearly doubled the amount of space used for tractor production. Here's a look at a power unit assembly line inside of Shop 2. An automatic lathe turning out parts for tractor production. Tractor Shop 3, built in 1937 to assist in the production of the new Allis Chalmers Model B tractor. The birthplace of some of your favorite Allis Chalmers tractors, like the WD-45 and the D-Series.
In the tractor shops of the West Allis Works is a final assembly line where the precision machine parts for today's tractors like the D14 and D17 come together smoothly and efficiently to form the finished product. And this is mass production at its best, giving the customer quality through quantity at a price he can afford to pay. And that's right in the best family tradition, because from the days of that first rubber-tired tractor, Allis Chalmers Engineering in Action has had as its goal machines designed to pay a profit on the family farm.
Paint them right on the conveyor, don't they? They sure don't waste any time.
No, they move them through pretty fast. After the painting, as you can see, they get wheels, lights, final touches.
And finally, Tractor Shop 4, built in 1918 as a foundry, and later converted to tractor production. Home of the 6000, 7000, and 8000 series tractors.
Something's happening in there. For the past several months, there's been an air of mystery and a sense of urgency surrounding this building. Now the preparations are complete. The tools are in place. The assembly line is humming. And it's time to show you what's been going on in the Allis Chalmers tractor plant.
It was from here that the last Allis Chalmers tractor came off the assembly line on December 6, 1985. This is where the tractor plant was. If you look over here, this driveway here is where we used to drive the tractors into the tractor engineering building. This right here is what's left of the tractor engineering section. They tore it down in 2020, I believe, and now they're building, I think, housing or mixed-use property or something. From the tractor works, we head to the east part of the complex, location of the forage shop, built in 1909 and full of steam and drop hammers, but long since demolished. The Tank and Plate Shop, built in 1909. Used for fabrication of kilns, coolers, and transformers. It once held the largest welding positioning table in the Western Hemisphere. The cases for the turbines in the Hoover Dam were built here. This historic structure is thankfully still here. The Fabrication Shop, originally built for the Allis Chalmers Terre Haute, Indiana plant. Moved and rebuilt at the West Allis facility in 1968, after the closure of the Terre Haute plant in 1962. We couldn't get a real close photo of this building, but it's still standing at the West Allis site as well. The Hawley Building, constructed during World War II. Allis Chalmers' contribution to the Manhattan Project was made within these walls. After the war, electrical controls and switchgears were manufactured here. Now known as Renaissance Place, it houses numerous businesses. The south side has been extensively remodeled, but the north side retains much of its original look. Back down to the main factory we go to have a look at the Allis Chalmers machine shops. Here is the number 7 and number 6 shops. According to a company tour book, number 7 shop is divided into sections for assembly and testing of large transformers, and for manufacture of moderate-sized electric rotating machinery. In the transformer section is a large vacuum tank measuring 24 by 16 feet and 24 feet deep. Windings for large 230,000 volt transformers must be dried for 2 weeks in this tank under vacuum ranging up to 30 inches of mercury. As a part of the transformer tests, the equipment is subjected to as much as 3 million volts of electricity to learn its resistance to lightning. Here's a better view of shop number 6. It's really hard to tell just how long these buildings are. You can see over there they saved a couple of the gantries and turned them into a walkway. Number 6 shop has 4 floors of manufacturing operations. On the ground floor are punch presses for armature, field, and core stampings. On the second floor, coils are wound and taped for electric rotating machinery and transformers. On the third and fourth floors, large quantities of small component parts for many products are manufactured. This is Shop 5, and Shop 5 machined yokes and shafts for large electric motors and generators. This shop contains some of the largest machine tools in the West Allis works, including a 96-inch by 44-foot, 56-foot if extended, lathe, a 14-foot planer, and a 28-foot boring mill. In the gallery above, tools and jigs are manufactured. On the south side of shop number 5, you can still see the track for the crane system. It's really wonderful how these have been repurposed and are still in use today. They really look nice. This is where number 4 shop was. You can kind of see where it was by where the brickwork's missing in that. It was tore off in the 80s. And that machined blades for cylinders and spindles for steam turbines. And then over there a little bit was the number 3.5 shop, which also machined parts for steam turbines and other large equipment. Then on the edge was the number 3 shop, which manufactured parts and machinery for the mining, cement, and coal industries. Next up was shop number 2.5, which turned propeller shafting and turbine spindles. There were large gun boring lathes with capacities to hollow bore shaftings up to 26-inch outside diameter for a length of 50 feet. The number 2 shop, which machined condenser tube sheets and support plates and large shaftings. Small parts for turbines and other machinery were machined in the gallery. Shop number 2 is also where the first Allis Chalmers tractors were built. The models 1018 and the 612. The 612 was actually built in the upstairs of the shop. A portion of this building, part of the south wall, still remains. Shop number 1, which machined parts for hydraulic turbines, condensers, and rock crushers. It also contained an assembly line for large centrifugal pumps. Sheaves and speed changers for text rope drives were also constructed here. About a third of shop number 1 still stands. It has been remodeled into retail space. On the west end, you can still see the giant crane behind the upstairs glass. From shop number 1, we're going to head north a little ways to the most impressive portion of the main factory still standing, the erecting shop. This is the Toshiba part of the old Allis Chalmers factory. Between them and Blast Cleaning Technologies, they share the main erection plant. It's really hard to explain just how big this plant is yet without seeing it in person. This is the rail line where their quality products were shipped across our great nation.
If it makes power or takes power, for industry or agriculture, Allis Chalmers builds it.
This here is the Powerhouse. If you remember in the promotional video, the WD-45, they show a shot of the smokestacks. Well, they're still here.
The engineering know-how and production capacities of Allis Chalmers are answering that demand.
Just look at how massive this place is. Some of the many remnants of the past we find, including a metal framing from an old canopy, and a hand-painted slow sign on our way to the front of the plant, and one of our favorite parts of the trip. Well, today we're at Blast Cleaning Technologies. They occupy a huge portion of the former Allis Chalmers Factory, where they used to make the big stuff. You see it's here. And lucky for you, we have an opportunity to go inside and take a look.
Even with the latest designs, the most skilled people, and the finest cooperation on progressive innovations, we still need the proper manufacturing facilities. The recent updating at West Allis now makes this one of the most modern manufacturing facilities in the world.
Still looks the same. Wow. Our tour of Blast Cleaning Technologies was like stepping back in time. You can almost feel the history in here. Where turbines and generators and other massive Allis Chalmers machines were once assembled, is still being used for its original purpose 120 years later. But now machines for the cleaning of raw castings are built within these historic walls. On the right you see a raw casting, and on the left after it's cleaned in one of their machines. They've constructed equipment for many companies you're familiar with, including John Deere. John Deere uses equipment built at the Allis Chalmers Factory. Be sure to tell that to all your green friends. You couldn't ask for better caretakers of the Allis Chalmers Factory, and Blast Cleaning Technologies' new home has allowed them to grow. And now a word from sales manager Paul Good.
We were originally in a building in New Berlin, about 7,000 square feet total, and did some rebuilding of machinery there as best we could, and quickly outgrew that facility and then moved to a slightly larger building that ended up being about 35,000 square feet of manufacturing space, and outgrew that within a couple of years' time, and were able to find this building that became available 2017, 18, I guess it was, and we moved in here, rehabbed the inside of the building. It was pretty much a dark dungeon when we got here. Certainly was showing its age, but we were able to clean the interior of the building down, paint the inside, put new lighting up, got a little help from the city of West Allis to put some new windows in and make a few other upgrades to the place, and the rest is kind of history. Not sure we'd be where we are today without it. It gave us the ability to assemble some fairly large equipment that we were getting more and more involved in as time went on, and now, quite frankly, we're looking for more space. The industry has been very strong the last few years in the equipment business, and we've been able to take advantage of that and provide a lot of custom design, custom built machinery for cleaning any kind of metal, whether it's steel, iron, brass, and different forgings, castings, girders. We're building our first girder machine for large I-beams, and so it just continues to grow.
Off to the side of Blast Cleaning Technologies' main shop is another area with some important Allis Chalmers history. This is a giant tunnel Allis Chalmers had made for testing their turbines. And actually, this door you see here used to close, and it created a whole vacuum. This here is it's an interior wall now, but it used to be the exterior wall of shop number 2. This is where the earliest Allis Chalmers tractors were assembled. Then when they were assembled, they were craned from shop 2 here. This used to be an open alley to shop number 1, which is over here. And that's where they were painted And according to the book, they tested the brakes. This was up until the first tractor plant was constructed in 1918, I believe. So here you go. Here's one little piece of the tractor plant that still exists to this day. Now we head to the last portion of our tour of the factory, and it could be considered the heart of the whole complex. I'm in the Allis Chalmers Powerhouse. Isn't this awesome? Now used for storage, the Powerhouse hasn't powered the plant in many years. Its massive control panel with Allis Chalmers electrical parts sits silent. A handwritten note states that the power was shut off for the final time on December 8th, 1989. Another historic remnant of the factory, and a fitting spot to end our tour. We'd like to thank everyone who helped us on our trip to the Allis Chalmers factory. We spent 3 days there, but that wasn't nearly enough time to see everything. We hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.
Buy a tractor and take a trip. Buy a tractor and take a trip. Yes, buy a new Allis Chalmers tractor now. And get an exciting 3-day air trip. Buy a tractor and take a trip. Fly as the guest of your Allis Chalmers dealer to Milwaukee. See inside one of America's great industries. Home of the widest range of power in the world.